Alright, here's my bike. This is a 1988 Ninja Kawasaki. It's a 250cc inline two-cylinder, so the, I guess, smallest sport bike Kawasaki offered. I bought this back in November. I think I did a video on them, along with a 750cc inline four bike from my college's auto shop. They were donated by a couple that lived on the California coast and just had these bikes, and I guess we're going to have them as weekend cruisers, and really did not ride them very much. This bike's registration, I think, said it was last registered in 2008, and it only has about 4,500 miles on it, which is pretty low in my opinion for this age of a bike, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've been working on them since I got it in November, and today I'm going to try to actually start it up. So yeah, I'm just going to do, I've done a walk around, but I'm just going to go over what I replaced on it, how much it cost, and then start it up. Let's see. Alright, so I paid about $50 for a battery, $8 for an air filter, and then I bought, let's see, I replaced these. These are some different hoses, some different gas lines going into the carburetors. A few of the gas lines from the tank itself I replaced, about $15 worth. I left some of the old ones that weren't cracked. Eventually I will replace those though as well. And let's see, the tank and the oil pan, that one because of my own fault, were the two biggest things I had to work on. The gas tank was pretty rusty. It could have been a lot worse, but there was dozens and dozens of holes and rust inside the tank. So I put vinegar in the tank. I had to put duct tape on the outside of it because the vinegar was coming out of holes in it. And the vinegar got rid of a lot of rust in the inside. Just basically all the rust. There was a lot of pitting in the inside. If we look in here, you can sort of see, well, maybe not. If I turn on the light, you can sort of see there's pitting in this metal. It's covered with a red coat now, but yeah, there's pitting in it. So I cleaned out as much of the metal as I could or much of the rust as I could with vinegar. I then soldered this. I bought like a $20 heat gun, which is actually a great tool. I'm really happy to have that now. And then like a $20 butane torch lighter that didn't work very well for soldering this. And then, $10-15 worth of solder. And I just, for over a period of like 4 months, worked on this tank. I put solder on these holes. They don't look great, but if you're far away, it's not too bad. The paint, I did paint over it, and the paint is a slightly different shade of black. That, I might have to improve that maybe in the future, but it's good enough for who it's for now, which is me. But yeah, so I put a bunch of solder on this on the bottom of the tank that you can't see right now. Here there's solder all the way around this filler cap. There's solder over there and on the other side. And then once I had soldered all the holes, I put most of a can of like $30 red coat on the inside of the tank, and that's supposed to seal really small pinholes. There was just loads and loads of pinholes here. Once I started sanding down off the paint, it just got worse and worse the more I saw. But the red coat's supposed to seal those holes and seal in rust and stop rust. So this red coat in here, I dumped like most of a quart in there of red coat. And yeah, just sloshed it around gently and then let it drain out the petcock, and it should be sealing the gas in pretty well. I'm really hopeful that'll work because I don't want gas leaking out of the bike. These can go on the bike, but for now I'm just going to leave them off. I have two of these. This was overheated in the garage. The guy idled the bike in his garage, I guess, or his wife did, and overheated this and warped this front part. And it kind of touches the exhaust right here when it goes on. So for now I'm going to just leave it off and try to figure that out later. These panels, I don't have screws for them to put them on right now, otherwise they just go right there. They're not in bad shape, but yeah, there are a few of these little like parts that can stick into the bike are like broken off. You can see like that one. But yeah, so I'm gonna leave that stuff out. But for the most part, to me the bike's in pretty good shape. It has coolant. I checked one of the spark plugs last year. It didn't look too bad. It didn't have like a lot of carbon buildup. So I'm pretty hopeful about the internals. I haven't gone into them. The part of the bike that was also a struggle is I did a lot of stuff that I messed up on underneath. This mainly came from over torquing stuff, and Sorry, I think my phone stops recording every 5 minutes for some reason. I wasn't patient enough, or I didn't have a torque wrench at the time to tighten this, so I did it with just 8-inch, 6-inch torque, just wrench. And I over-tightened this stuff. This stuff's aluminum. The threads in here are aluminum. They're very weak, and I broke them. This plate right here itself, this is from a 2007 bike. I broke this plate by over-tightening this bolt when I had retightened it after putting a new oil filter in there. So I had to buy a new one off eBay. The oil was leaking out, so I had to drain the oil. And then I realized after I put it all back in there and then bought another 20 bucks worth of motorcycle oil to put in here, that this drain bolt, I had stripped the threads on that. So I had a gift card. I bought a $25 kit to helicoil kit to tap this. I drilled out what was left of the threads. I tapped new threads, and then I screwed a helicoil into it, and that's what this screws into. Yeah, when I was drilling it and tapping it, I did my best to like not let threads go into the engine. It was just, I figured it was too much of a pain to try to take the whole engine apart to be able to have this off the engine to tap it, so I just tapped it laying underneath the bike while the bike was sitting on mason blocks. And yeah, I used a vacuum and suctioned it against this drain hole to get all the threads out, and most of them stuck to like the tap and the drill because I put WD-40 on it. So most of the little metal shards, aluminum shards from tapping it should have come out of the engine because I was pretty careful. If any of them are still in there, I'm thinking hopefully they'll get stuck in the oil filter. But yeah, I did not too bad of a job on that, but just fixing it at least. But remember not to over tighten this stuff because the aluminum will break. But yeah, so mistakes learned there. Mistakes were made, but figured it out for the most part. And yeah, the other thing I did was I rebuilt this front brake caliper. It's like 22 bucks, which is overpriced, but I got new seals here, there, and then new 4 new seals to go inside the pistons. And I bled the brakes. They're brand new. They work. They work good. Tightened this up. I couldn't bleed the brakes. I was having trouble getting all the air out of the lines, so I found on Reddit a solution to unbolt this, the master cylinder, or the brake cylinder, and hold it sideways basically while you pump the brakes, and that got air out of there, and that fixed the problem with the brakes being soft. So those are bled, those are fixed, and yeah. So with everything, with the kit to rebuild this, with the 40 bucks worth of oil I bought, the battery, the stuff I did, the tank, the cost of buying the bike itself and the transfer fee, I added it up to about 500 bucks for the total cost of what I spent on this bike so far. And to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. That's not a lot of money. I can always resell it if it turns out it's a really big problem, to try to get it running if there's something wrong with the engine I didn't realize. But I really doubt there is anything wrong with the engine with such low miles and how clean the spark plug looked and everything. And it cranks. I've cranked it before the battery runs, so I'll crank it right now. Take this out of the take the key out of the gas tank if I can. So there's no gas in it right now, but I can just go here. Got to put it in neutral, and then I can just hit this and crank it. All right, the battery's freshly been freshly charged. So I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna pour some gas, hopefully onto this side, the right side of the tank, and then, or left side I should say. And then this petcock I'm gonna turn from off to, what is that, on? So actually I'll do that after I pour the gas in there, but yeah. So let's pour some gas in there and see if it starts up. If I can get that off there. All right. I'm gonna just put a little bit of gas in there. This is like only a gallon in this tank anyway, but I'm gonna put maybe a quarter of a gallon in there and then see. Oop, and I dribbled some over the tank. I'm gonna wipe that up real quick. All right. Yeah, I didn't put very much in there, but that's all right. I'm just gonna give it a few seconds or a minute or so and see if I start seeing any gas leaking out of any hole in the bottom. I'm pretty sure it won't. I think I already see a leak. That's not good. All right, yeah, I already see a leak right there. Where's that? That's coming out of the petcock actually, which is not good at all. I was afraid of something like that. I guess that might be easier to fix than the tank though. So yeah, that's gonna need to be fixed. That might be some kind of seals in here are bad. Alright, I'm back. It's still leaking a little bit. I put towels here, it should catch it. I was honestly not expecting it to leak from there. But yeah, I'm gonna have to replace that part. There might be seals in here that are bad, or it might just be the whole petcock. I could probably just buy a new one for, actually they might be quite expensive. I don't know, 20 bucks, 50 bucks. I probably will just buy a whole new one. Luckily the tank doesn't, as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem to be leaking. And this is easier to deal with than the tank. I'm not really happy that it's leaking though. I did just put like a quarter of a gallon or a eighth of a gallon of gas in there. I'm not sure how much I put in there. But yeah, I still really want to start it up. That's not super safe to have the gas leaking out right there. But if I start it up, it might start pulling gas out of here instead of dripping it right there. So yeah, I really want to start it up. So I'm just going to start it up, and then if it fires, that's great. And then I'm going to lean it to the other side so the gas goes to the other side of the tank. And I guess try to figure out how to get this off and replace it, or just use all the gas up in the tank by running the bike and then replace the petcock. So yeah, all right, so that's, yeah, it's leaking a little bit, but I'm still gonna try to start the bike. It should hopefully be not too dangerous, and I just want to really get this started, then I'll replace the petcock. So I'm gonna put it on, it's in neutral, I'm gonna hit run. I'm using this professional little strap to keep the choke on while I film, and then I'm gonna try to start it. Maybe pump this a little bit. I don't know if that'll do anything. Alright, we're gonna try this one more time. I had the petcock on and I realized the petcock sticks up into the tank, so if the gas isn't above that petcock, it won't get any gas, so I'd have to have it on reserve to actually suck out of the very bottom. So I should have realized that before. It is leaking out of the petcock and out of here, which is not great. That looks like kind of reddish color, out of this air intake right here. This air box, I think I had taken it off and I put it back on a while ago when I was messing with it. And I guess I didn't put it on well, and it's leaking gas there, so that's not good. But I'm going to try to start it up now that I realized my mistake, that this wasn't on. As soon as I do that, this is going to start leaking again. But yeah, I'm going to try it again. So we're going to go to on. It's in neutral. Alright, that's on. Have this little choke on a little bit. And then it sure sounds like it's trying more now. I'm going to turn this all the way. Okay, if I rev it a little bit. It died, but it started. Alright. It keeps dying, it doesn't have the gas. Alright, that's awesome. Well, I turned it back on the reserve, that's why, because it was... Alright, I'm going to pull this a little bit, that stinks. Alright, I just started it with the camera off just real quick, with holding the throttle all the way, the choke all the way down, and it just started up. And then I tried to rev it and it dies. Alright. Well, it starts and it runs for a few seconds, that's cool. I have there's a little like stuff in the ground there from there's a little like hose in there that I think overflows from something like the air vent or the gas or... Alright, so I just put the whole bike back together. Since it was dying when I tried to rev it, I took the carbs apart and cleaned them out. They had a lot of gunk in them. And then I bought a kit for like 12 bucks, a rebuild kit, but since most of it I was able to clean, I didn't put many parts in there. I had one or two parts that pushed the floats up and down that I replaced, and some of the screws. So hopefully cleaning the jets, cleaning it all, putting a bunch of carb cleaner in there will help. There was also a bunch of dirt and grease on the top of the intake valves, and I put a bunch of carb cleaner in there. So hopefully that helps. I took a video of inside there too. But yeah, I just put the tank back on. I put some better washers on the tank because it was leaking. So yeah, I'm going to try to start it up again and see if it won't die this time.